The message came at exactly midnight Earth time. Every screen on the planet lit up at once. Televisions, phones, computers, and even old radios crackled to life. The face that appeared was not human. It had gray skin, 4 eyes, and a mouth full of sharp teeth. This was Admiral Bora of the Empire. "People of Earth," the alien said in a cold voice, "your planet has been selected for conquest. You have 30 days to surrender. If you do not, we will destroy everything you have built. We will take your resources. We will make your people our slaves. This is not a request. This is your only warning." The transmission ended. For a moment, the entire world was silent. In Seoul, inside a massive underground military base, General sat in a leather chair. He was a man of 50 years, with gray hair and calm eyes. Around him sat the most powerful military leaders on Earth. There was General, a woman known for her sharp mind and faster decisions. Admiral commanded the naval forces of 3 continents. Commander led the space defense program that most people did not even know existed. They had all watched the message together. General was the first to react. He laughed. It was not a nervous laugh or a scared laugh. It was a deep, genuine laugh that came from his belly. He laughed so hard that tears formed in his eyes. General looked at him, then she smiled, then she laughed too. Soon, the entire room was laughing. The sound echoed off the concrete walls of the bunker. Officers who had prepared for nuclear war, who had trained for the worst disasters imaginable, were laughing like children at a comedy show. In the command ship, Admiral Bora watched this reaction with confusion. He had conquered 12 planets. He had seen species cry, beg, and run. He had never seen anyone laugh. "What is wrong with them?" asked his second-in-command, a younger named. "Are they broken? Did the transmission damage their minds?" "I do not know," Admiral Bora admitted. "Perhaps humans are simply too stupid to understand danger." Back on Earth, General finally stopped laughing. He wiped his eyes and looked at his fellow commanders. "Well," he said, "I suppose we should tell them." "Tell them what?" asked a junior officer who looked very worried. "Tell them they made a mistake," General said. She was still smiling. "A very big mistake." The junior officer did not understand. He had seen the ships on the satellite images. There were hundreds of them. They were huge, covered in weapons, and they were coming toward Earth. How could anyone laugh at this? General stood up and walked to a large screen on the wall. He pressed a few buttons, and a map of Earth appeared. Then another map appeared over it. This one showed things that were not on any public record: underground bases, hidden factories, secret weapons platforms in the ocean, satellites that looked normal but carried enough firepower to destroy a small moon. "Son," General said to the young officer, "do you know why humans are so good at war?" The officer shook his head. "Because we have been practicing on each other for 10,000 years." Admiral stood up and joined at the screen. "We have had 2 world wars, hundreds of smaller wars. We have created weapons that can split atoms and poison the air for generations. We have developed strategies that would make these aliens cry. They think they are predators," General added. "They think we are prey because we have not left our solar system yet. They do not understand that we stayed home by choice. We were too busy fighting ourselves to look at the stars." Commander, who had been quiet until now, spoke in her soft voice. "They also do not know about the ships." Everyone in the room turned to look at her. "What ships?" the junior officer asked. Smiled, it was not a kind smile. "For the last 40 years, every major nation has been secretly building warships. We told the public they were space stations, research vessels, cargo ships, but they are not. They are battleships. We built them because we were afraid of each other. Now we will use them for something else." General nodded. "The Americans have 12 heavy cruisers. The Chinese have 15 destroyers. Russia built 8 dreadnoughts. And we," he paused and looked proud, "we built the command ship. The biggest and most powerful vessel humanity has ever created. We call it it means sky. The junior officer's mouth fell open. "We have a space fleet, a real space fleet." "We have more than that," Admiral said. "We have Marines trained for zero-gravity combat. We have weapons that can cut through any armor. We have generals and admirals who have studied every battle in human history. We were ready for war with each other. Now we will fight together instead." General pulled out her phone and started making calls. "I will contact the other nations. It is time to share our secrets. They gave us 30 days. We will not need 30 days. General walked to the window of the bunker. Through reinforced glass he could see the night sky. Somewhere up there, an alien fleet was coming to destroy his world. He felt something he had not felt in years: excitement. "These have studied us," he said quietly. "They must have. They know our languages, our communication systems. They watched us for a long time before making their move." "Then why did they attack?" asked. Turned around with a grin. "Because they studied the wrong things. They saw our art, our music, our peaceful cities. They saw us as a young species still learning to walk. They did not look at our history. They did not see our wars, our weapons, our endless drive to fight and win." He paused and looked at each person in the room. They poked a sleeping dragon, and now the dragon is awake. Commander began typing on her computer. "I am sending the activation codes to all hidden installations. The factories will start full production within 6 hours. The fleet will be combat ready in 3 weeks. 3 weeks, General raised an eyebrow. "That is very fast." "We were always ready," replied. "We just needed a reason." General sat back down in his chair and smiled. 30 days. They had given them 30 days. They had no idea that they had just given humanity the greatest gift possible: a common enemy. For the first time in human history, there would be no civil wars, no border disputes, no political games. Every nation would stand together. Every soldier would fight side by side. Every scientist would share their knowledge. They wanted to conquer Earth. They would soon learn that Earth was not a planet to be conquered. It was a planet of warriors who had finally found something worthy to fight. Admiral Bora stood in the command center of his flagship, the Conquest. Around him, dozens of officers worked at their stations, monitoring the approach to the small blue planet called Earth. Everything was going according to plan, or at least it should have been. "Report," Bora commanded. His second-in-command stepped forward with a tablet in his hands. His 4 eyes blinked rapidly, a sign of confusion among the people. "Admiral, we are receiving very strange information from our spy satellites." "What kind of information?" Hesitated. "The humans are not panicking." Bora turned to face him fully. "Explain." "After your message, we expected chaos. We expected riots, crying, people running to hide. That is what happened on every other planet we conquered. But the humans," looked at his tablet again as if he could not believe what he was reading. "The humans are going to work. They are eating at restaurants. Children are playing in parks. They are ignoring us." Bora's voice was sharp. "No, Admiral, they know about the message. It is on all their news channels, but they are treating it like a game. They are making jokes about us. They created something called memes, pictures with funny words. They are laughing at us across their entire planet." Bora felt something he rarely felt: doubt. On Earth, General was holding a press conference. The whole world was watching. He stood at a podium with General, Admiral, and Commander beside him. "People of Earth," began in a calm voice, "you have all seen the alien message. I am here to tell you that you have nothing to fear. Our governments have been preparing for this possibility for many years. We have weapons. We have ships. We have brave soldiers ready to defend our home." A reporter raised her hand. "General, are you saying we can actually fight these aliens?" Smiled. "I am saying that these aliens made a very poor choice. They picked a fight with the wrong species." The crowd murmured. Another reporter spoke up. But sir, their technology must be far more advanced than ours. They can travel between stars. General stepped to the microphone. Let me tell you something about technology. 1,000 years ago, humans fought with swords and arrows. 300 years ago, we fought with guns and cannons. 70 years ago, we split the atom and created weapons that could destroy entire cities. Technology changes fast for humans. Very fast. We adapt. We learn. We improve. These aliens might have better engines, but war is not about engines. War is about will. And no species in this galaxy has more will than humanity. The crowd cheered. Back on the ship, Admiral Bora was calling an emergency meeting with the High Council. 12 faces appeared on the large screen, the leaders of the Empire. Admiral Bora, the head counselor said, "We have received your reports. What is the situation?" Bora bowed his head slightly. "Honored Council, the humans are not reacting as expected. They are not afraid. They are organizing. Our spies report that their factories are running day and night. They are building something." "Building what?" another counselor asked. "We do not know yet. They have excellent security, but the amount of resources they are moving suggests they are preparing for war on a massive scale." The head counselor waved a hand dismissively. "They are a primitive species. They have never left their own moon. What could they possibly build that would threaten our fleet?" "With respect, Counselor, I recommend caution. These humans have a very violent history. They have fought thousands of wars among themselves. They have developed weapons of terrible power." "Against each other," the counselor said with a cold laugh. "They are children fighting with sticks. We have plasma cannons. We have shield technology. We have warped across the galaxy while they were still learning to make fire." Bora wanted to argue more, but he knew it was pointless. The council had already made up their minds. Humans were weak. Humans were primitive. Humans would fall like every other species. 2 weeks passed. General stood on the bridge of the massive human command ship. It was bigger than any aircraft carrier ever built. Its hull was covered in armor plating 3 meters thick. Its weapons could fire across thousands of kilometers with perfect accuracy. And it was not alone. Around the floated the combined fleet of Earth. Ships from every nation, finally revealed after decades of secrecy. American cruisers painted with stars and stripes. Chinese destroyers with red dragons on their sides. Russian dreadnoughts covered in ice-white armor. Japanese carriers filled with fighter craft. And dozens of smaller ships from nations all over the world. "Final count?" asked. Commander checked her screen. "We have 97 capital ships, 400 fighters, 50,000 soldiers in combat armor. And the special weapons?" Smiled, ready and waiting. Admiral walked over with a tablet. "Sir, we have intercepted more communications. They still do not believe we are a threat. They think our ships are made of basic materials. They think our weapons are primitive." "Good," said, "let them think that." General joined them at the main window. Outside, the stars shone bright and cold. Somewhere out there, the fleet was approaching. "You know," said thoughtfully, "I spent my whole career preparing for war between nations. I never thought I would be fighting aliens." "Is it very different?" asked. "No," replied. "War is war. The enemy has numbers, weapons, and a plan. So do we. The winner will be whoever adapts faster, thinks smarter, and refuses to give up." She paused. "Humans have been doing that for a very long time." Nodded. He thought about all the wars in human history, all the battles won against impossible odds, all the times humanity had faced destruction and survived. They had conquered 12 planets. They had never lost a war. They had never met an enemy who could match them. They had never met humans. On the conquest, brought more reports to Admiral Bora. "Admiral, the humans have moved ships into orbit around their planet." Bora looked at the images on the screen. He counted the ships. His eyes widened. "This is not possible," he whispered. Where did they get so many ships? They were supposed to have a few research vessels at most. I do not know, Admiral, but there is more. Pulled up another image. They have something in orbit around their moon, something very big. The image showed a space station unlike anything they had seen. It was massive, covered in what looked like weapon platforms. It had a strange shape, like a fortress floating in space. "What is that?" Bora demanded. "We do not know, but it is broadcasting a message on all frequencies." "What does it say?" Swallowed hard. "It says, 'Welcome to Earth. We hope you brought enough soldiers.'" Bora stared at the screen for a long moment. For the first time in his long career, he felt something new. It was small, just a tiny feeling in the back of his mind, but it was there. Fear. He turned to his officers. "Send a message to the council. Tell them we may need more ships." The officers hurried to obey, but deep in his heart, Bora was beginning to wonder if more ships would be enough. The humans were not acting like prey. They were acting like predators who had been waiting for exactly this moment. And predators did not wait unless they were sure they could win. The underground factory in the mountains of Korea had been running for 20 years in secret. Only a few hundred people knew it existed. Now it was operating at full power, day and night, with 3 shifts of workers who never stopped moving. General walked through the main production hall with Commander at his side. Around them, machines built weapons that the public had never seen. Plasma rifles that could melt armor, combat suits that made soldiers faster and stronger, missiles that could track targets across the darkness of space. "Production report?" asked. "We have completed 40,000 combat suits," replied, 20,000 plasma rifles, 500 missile batteries, and something special. She pointed to the far end of the hall where a massive object sat under a white cover. "What is that?" Smiled. "A gift for our guests." She pressed a button on her wrist device, and the cover fell away. Underneath was a weapon unlike anything had ever seen. It was huge, the size of a small building. Its barrel was made of some kind of crystal that glowed with blue light. "We call it the Sun Lance," explained. "It focuses energy the same way our sun creates light. One shot can destroy a ship 5 times the size of the..." Stared at the weapon. "How long have we had this?" "The project started 15 years ago. We finished it last month. We were planning to use it against each other someday." Smile faded. "It is sad that we needed aliens to make us work together." Put his hand on her shoulder. "Better late than never." All across Earth, similar scenes were happening. In America, soldiers trained in huge bases that had been built under the desert. They practiced fighting in zero gravity, moving in combat suits, and working together with soldiers from other nations they had once considered enemies. In Russia, engineers worked on shield generators that could protect entire cities. The technology had been stolen from a crashed UFO decades ago. They had kept it secret, planning to use it for their own defense. Now they shared it freely with the world. In China, massive ships rose from hidden underground docks. They had been built in secret locations, deep inside mountains and under the ocean. 50 years of preparation, done in case of war with other nations. Now they flew toward the gathering fleet above Earth. General visited a training camp in Japan. 10,000 soldiers stood in perfect lines, wearing the new combat suits. They came from every country: American, Russian, Chinese, Korean, Japanese, Indian, Brazilian. For the first time in history, they wore the same uniform and followed the same orders. Walked among them slowly. She looked at their faces. They were young, most of them, but their eyes were hard. They knew what was coming. They were not afraid. "You have trained for 3 weeks," said, her voice carried by speakers across the entire camp. "Some people say that is not enough. Some people say we cannot win against an enemy who has conquered 12 planets." She paused and let the silence grow. "Those people are wrong." The soldiers did not move. They listened. They have never fought humans. They have fought species who gave up easily, species who did not know war, species who prayed for peace instead of preparing for battle. Raised her fist. We are not like them. We are humans. We have been fighting since we climbed down from the trees. We fought with sticks. We fought with swords. We fought with guns. We split the atom because we wanted to kill each other more efficiently. Some soldiers smiled. They understood. They think they are warriors, continued. But they are not. They are bullies. They pick on the weak. They have never met the strong until now. She pointed at the sky. Up there, an alien fleet is coming to enslave your families, to destroy your homes, to end everything humanity has built. Her voice grew louder. What will you do about it? 10,000 voices answered as one. Fight. What will you give for your home? Everything. And what will you show these aliens? That humans do not surrender. Admiral was on the when the final reports came in. He sat in the command chair and read them one by one, his heart filled with pride. Earth's fleet now had 123 capital ships, 600 fighters, 75,000 soldiers in combat armor. The Sun Lance was installed on the largest station orbiting the moon. Shield generators covered all major cities. Underground shelters could protect 8 billion people if the worst happened. We did it, said quietly. 3 weeks. We built all of this in 3 weeks. His second officer, a young woman named Sora, shook her head in wonder. How is that possible, sir? How did we hide all of this for so long? Laughed. Because humans are paranoid, Sora. Every nation was afraid of every other nation. We all built secret weapons, secret bases, secret armies. We were ready to destroy each other at any moment. He stood up and walked to the window. Now we will use all of that fear and anger against someone who truly deserves it. On the Conquest, Admiral Bora received the latest scan results from his science officers. He read them twice, then 3 times. He could not believe what he was seeing. This is wrong, he said. Your scanners must be broken. We have checked them many times, Admiral, the science officer replied nervously. The readings are correct. The humans have over 100 warships. Their weapons are not primitive. They are almost as powerful as ours. Bora grabbed the tablet and threw it across the room. Impossible. They were supposed to be weak. They were supposed to surrender. Stepped forward carefully. Admiral, perhaps we should wait for the reinforcements the Council is sending. When will they arrive? 2 months. Bora shook his head. We cannot wait 2 months. The Council will think I am a coward. They will remove me from command. He made his decision. We attack in 5 days before the humans can prepare more. But sir, our forces are nearly equal now. We will suffer heavy losses. Then we will suffer losses, Bora shouted. Do not run from primitives. We do not show weakness. We will crush these humans and prove that we are still the masters of this galaxy. Bowed his head. Yes, Admiral. But as he walked away, thought about the human message. Welcome to Earth. We hope you brought enough soldiers. Those were not the words of a scared species. Those were the words of someone who wanted a fight. He hoped Admiral Bora knew what he was doing, because the humans did not look like they were planning to lose. On Earth, General received word that the fleet was moving faster. He gathered his fellow commanders for one final meeting. They will attack in 5 days, he announced. Not 30. They know we are stronger than they expected. They want to hit us before we get any stronger. General nodded. Good, I was getting bored waiting. Admiral checked his screens. The fleet is ready. All ships are armed and in position. The soldiers are eager to fight. Commander stood by the window looking at the stars. The Sun Lance is charged. 1 shot is all we need to change everything. Looked at each of them. These people had once been rivals. Korea, Japan, America, China, Russia. For decades they had planned how to defeat each other. Now they stood as brothers and sisters. Whatever happens in 5 days, said, Humanity will never be the same. We will either win and become a power in the galaxy, or we will lose and be remembered as the species that fought back. We will not lose, said firmly. No, agreed, we will not. The clock was ticking, the aliens were coming, and humanity was ready to show the galaxy what it meant to be human. The fleet dropped out of warp space behind Mars, 200 warships, armed with plasma cannons and protected by energy shields. Admiral Bora stood on the bridge of the Conquest, watching the distant blue dot that was Earth. All ships report ready, announced. We will reach Earth orbit in 6 hours. Bora nodded slowly. He had not slept well for days. Something about this mission felt wrong. The humans were too calm, too prepared, but he pushed those thoughts away. They had never lost a war. They would not lose this one. Begin the approach, he commanded. All weapons charged, all shields at full power. The massive fleet moved forward as one, a wall of gray metal and deadly weapons heading toward the small blue planet. General watched the enemy approach on the main screen. Red dots moved across the display, each one representing a ship that wanted to destroy his home. 197 enemy ships detected, Sara reported. They have 3 command vessels, 40 heavy cruisers, and 154 support craft. And we have, asked. Admiral checked his tablet. 123 capital ships, 600 fighters ready to launch. The Sun Lance is fully charged on the moon station. Smiled, then we have enough. General stepped forward. We should let them come closer. The closer they are to Earth, the less room they have to retreat. Agreed, said. All ships hold position. We wait until they pass the Mars line. The human fleet sat perfectly still in space, a half-circle of metal and fire waiting near the moon. On the ships, soldiers checked their weapons one last time. Pilots sat in their fighters, fingers ready on the controls. Engineers watched reactor readings and shield generators. Nobody spoke. Nobody needed to. They all knew what was at stake. 4 hours passed. The fleet passed Mars and kept coming. Admiral Bora could now see the human ships on his visual screen. He studied them with his 4 eyes. They are not running, he said quietly. No, Admiral replied. They appear to be waiting for us. Fools, do they really think they can match our firepower? Did not answer. He remembered the message. He remembered the laughter. The fleets were now 1 million kilometers apart, close enough to fight, close enough to die. Admiral Bora raised his hand. Send them a message. Give them one last chance to surrender. The communication officer opened a channel. A screen flickered to life with the face of Admiral Bora. Humans, Bora said in his cold voice. You have seen our fleet. You know you cannot win. Surrender now and we will be merciful. Your leaders will be killed quickly. Your people will serve us without pain. This is your final offer. General stood up from his command chair and walked slowly to the screen. He looked at Admiral Bora for a long moment. Then he spoke. You studied our history, yet you declared war anyway. Bora frowned. What do you mean? I mean you watched us. You saw our planet, our cities, our technology, but you did not see what really matters. Leaned closer to the screen. You did not see what we are capable of when we fight together. You cannot win, Bora insisted. We have conquered 12 planets. We have never been defeated. Smiled, but there was no warmth in it. That record is about to change. He raised his hand. All ships attack. The battle began with fire. 600 human fighters launched from their carriers and screamed toward the fleet. They were small, fast, and hard to hit. Gunners tried to track them, but there were too many. The fighters dove between the massive enemy ships, firing missiles at weak points. They are like insects, Bora shouted. Destroy them. But the fighters were not alone. Behind them came the human capital ships. They led the charge, its massive guns blazing with blue light. Plasma bolts the size of cars slammed into shields, making them flicker and crack. General commanded the left flank. Her ships moved in a classic pattern called the hammer and anvil. Half attacked from the front. The other half swung around to hit from behind. They found themselves trapped. Admiral led the right flank. His ships were faster, designed to strike hard and pull back. They targeted the enemy's support vessels first, cutting off supplies and reinforcements. Commander sat in the moon station, watching the battle unfold. Her finger rested on a single button. The sun lance was ready. She was waiting for the perfect moment. His voice crackled through the radio. "The enemy command ship is breaking left. Can you get a shot?" Checked her targeting computer. The Conquest was trying to escape the center of the battle. It was moving into open space, away from its own fleet. "I can hit it," she replied, "but their shields are still at 70%. "Leave the shields to me," said. "All ships on left flank concentrate fire on the command ship. Bring down those shields." 12 human ships turned their weapons on the Conquest. For 2 minutes, a storm of plasma bolts and missiles hammered the massive vessel. Its shields glowed red, then orange, then finally shattered into a million sparks. "Shields down," shouted. Did not hesitate, she pressed the button. On the moon station, the sun lance fired. A beam of pure white energy shot across the darkness of space. It was so bright that soldiers on both sides had to look away. It crossed the distance to the Conquest in less than a second. The beam hit the command ship in the center of its hull. For a moment, nothing happened. Then the ship began to glow. Its metal hull turned red, then white, then simply vanished. The entire front half of the Conquest disappeared into nothing. Admiral Bora was standing on the bridge when the beam hit. He had one moment to feel surprise. Then he was gone. Was in the rear section of the ship. He felt the floor shake. He saw the emergency lights turn red. He heard the screams of his fellow as the air rushed out into space. But he was alive, barely. The surviving section of the command ship drifted helplessly through space, pulled himself to a communication panel. "All ships," he gasped. "Admiral Bora is dead. The flagship is destroyed. I am taking command." There was chaos on the fleet. Half their ships were damaged. Their leader was gone. Their greatest weapon, the command ship, was now a burning wreck. General watched from the "Press the attack," he ordered. "Do not let them recover." The human fleet surged forward. Fighters darted through the confusion, targeting engines and weapon systems. Capital ships moved to surround the remaining vessels. Watched his fleet fall apart. Ships were trying to retreat, but there was nowhere to go. The humans were everywhere. "We have to surrender," he said quietly. "Sir," one of his officers asked. "Send a message to the human commander. Tell him we yield." They received the message. He looked at his fellow commanders on the screen, was smiling, was nodding slowly, was already powering down the sun lance. "Should we accept?" Sora asked. Thought about all the species they had conquered, all the people they had enslaved. Part of him wanted to destroy every last enemy ship. But he was not like them. "Cease fire," he ordered. "Tell them we accept their surrender." The guns fell silent. The fighters pulled back. For the first time in 4 hours, the darkness of space was peaceful again. The battle was over. Humanity had won. But this was only the beginning. The wreckage of the fleet floated in the space between Earth and the Moon. Broken ships drifted like dead fish in a dark ocean. Pieces of metal, some as big as buildings, slowly spun through the emptiness. In the middle of this graveyard of war, one ship remained untouched. The flagship of humanity hung perfectly still. Inside, General stood at a window and watched the destruction. He had won. Humanity had won. But he did not feel happy. War never made him happy. "Sir," Sora said softly, "the representative is ready." Turned away from the window. "Bring him to the conference room." The conference room of they was large and simple. A long metal table stood in the center, surrounded by chairs. On one side sat the human commanders, General in the middle, with General on his right and Admiral on his left. Commander stood near the wall, watching everything with her quiet eyes. On the other side of the table sat. He looked small and tired. His gray skin had lost its color. His 4 eyes moved nervously from one human face to another. "Thank you for meeting with us," began. His voice was calm and respectful. Blinked, he had expected anger, threats, demands. He had not expected politeness. I am here to discuss terms," said. "You have one, we accept this. What do you want from us?" General leaned forward. "First, we want to understand, why did you attack us? We had done nothing to you." Was silent for a moment. Then he answered honestly. "Because we thought you were weak. We saw your planet. We saw that you had never left your solar system. We thought you would be easy to conquer like the others." "The others?" Admiral asked. "You mean the 12 planets you conquered before us?" "Yes," lowered his head. "Those species were peaceful. They did not know war. They did not understand violence. They surrendered quickly. We thought all young species would be the same." Commander spoke for the first time. "You thought wrong." "Yes," finally looked at the humans directly. "You are not like the others, you are terrifying." Raised an eyebrow. "Terrifying." "I watched the battle," explained. "I saw your fighters dive into our guns without fear. I saw your ships rush toward us when any logical species would run away. Your soldiers were laughing as they fought." "Laughing." He shook his head slowly. "No species in the galaxy fights like that. No species enjoys war the way humans do." There was silence in the room. The human commanders looked at each other. Finally, General spoke. "We do not enjoy war," she said carefully. "We are just very good at it. There is a difference." Did not look convinced. "If you say so." Put his hands flat on the table. "Here is what we want. First, you will release all the species you have conquered. Every planet, every people, they will be free." His eyes widened. "All of them. The Council will never agree to that." "The Council," said with a slight smile, "has a choice. Free those planets or we will free them ourselves. You have seen what our fleet can do. Imagine what happens when we come to your—" Swallowed hard. He imagined it. He wished he had not. "Second," continued, "you will share your technology with us. Your faster-than-light engines, your energy shields, your communication systems, everything." "But that will make you even more powerful," protested. "Yes, it will." "And then third." His expression softened slightly. "Third, you will join us, not as slaves, not as enemies, as partners." Stared at him. "Partners? We tried to destroy you. We wanted to enslave your people. And you want us as partners." General answered this time. "We have learned something about war. You do not make peace with your friends. You make peace with your enemies. That is how you stop wars from happening again." Admiral nodded. "The galaxy is big. There are probably many species out there, some peaceful, some not. Humanity does not want to fight everyone. We want to build something better, but we can only do that with help." Sat in stunned silence. This was not what he had expected. He had expected revenge. He had expected cruelty. He had expected humans to act like the monsters his people had made them out to be. Instead, they were offering peace. I will take your terms to what remains of our council," finally said. "I cannot promise they will accept, but I will speak strongly in your favor." "That is all we ask," replied. The meeting ended. Was escorted back to his ship carrying the peace offer with him. As he walked through the corridors he passed human soldiers standing guard. They nodded at him respectfully. One even said, "Good luck." Did not understand these creatures at all. 3 months later, the treaty was signed. The ceremony took place on Earth, in a grand hall that had been built especially for this moment. Representatives from every nation on the planet stood together. For the first time, the flags of Earth's countries hung beside a new flag, a simple blue banner with a white circle representing the planet. General signed for humanity. Now the leader of the reformed signed for his people. As the pens touched paper, cameras broadcast the moment to every screen on Earth and beyond. 8 billion humans watched. They had faced extinction and survived. They had met the galaxy and won. After the ceremony and his fellow commanders stood on a balcony overlooking the crowd, thousands of people had gathered to celebrate. Music played, children laughed, fireworks lit up the night sky. "It is strange," Admiral said. "I spent my whole life preparing for war. Now I have to learn to prepare for peace." General smiled. "Peace is harder than war. War has clear rules, kill or be killed. Peace is complicated. You have to talk, compromise, understand people who are different from you." "Can we do it?" asked. "Can humanity really change?" Commander joined them holding a glass of champagne. "We have already changed. Look at us. Korean, Japanese, American, Chinese, Russian. 2 months ago, we would have been arguing about borders and trade. Now we are friends." Nodded slowly. "The aliens gave us something valuable. They gave us perspective. We finally saw how small our differences are compared to how much we share." Below, the celebration continued. People from different countries danced together. Languages mixed as strangers became friends. The flags of old nations still flew, but beside them flew the new flag of United Earth. "They thought we were prey," remarked, repeating something it said long ago. "Every predator does," replied, "once." Raised her glass. "To humanity, the species that was too stubborn to lose." They all drank. Far above, the stars shone cold and bright. Out there, other species were watching. Some were curious, some were afraid. Word had spread quickly through the galaxy. A young species called humans had defeated the Empire. They had weapons that could destroy suns. They had soldiers who laughed in battle. And now they were coming to the stars. In the years that followed, humanity spread across the galaxy. They made allies with peaceful species and protected them from harm. They faced new enemies and defeated them. They built stations and colonies on worlds that had never known intelligent life. But they never forgot where they came from. A small blue planet in a quiet corner of the universe. A home worth fighting for. General retired after 5 years. He spent his last days in a small house in the mountains of Korea where he could see the stars at night. Sometimes visitors would come and ask him about the war, about how humanity had won. His answer was always the same. "We won because we refused to lose. We won because we fought together. We won because, in the end, humans do not know how to give up." He would smile then, his old eyes twinkling. "The galaxy thought they could conquer us. They learned that Earth is not a planet you conquer. Earth is a planet that conquers you." And in the darkness of space, wherever enemies threatened the innocent, human ships stood ready. Because humanity had found its purpose. Not just to survive, but to protect. Not just to win wars, but to make sure no one had to fight them alone. They had wanted to start a war. Instead, they had awakened something far more powerful. They had awakened humanity.